at the office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Cleveland, what is up? Welcome to the office, a show where three work buddies debate and discuss the top sports stories in Cleveland, around the country, sometimes around the globe. Quick reminder before we get started, you can join us too. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, X, text or call the show at 216-260-3433. 216-260-3433. Got a good show for you guys tonight. I'm excited. I know it's the summer. I know the finals are here for the NBA. There's not a ton going on the sports scene at a macro level view, but when you dig into the nitty gritty, there's quite a bit. So we're going to hit some pro football, college football, basketball, talk Cavs. But before we get into any of that, Noah, Erik, how we doing, fellas?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I actually visited Detroit for the first time yesterday. Went and saw the Kendrick Lamar and SZA tour. It was an absolute blast. It was a Super Bowl performance. And listen, all of you Dome haters, you non-Brook Park Brown lovers, suck it up because we need experiences like that right here in the land.
Hot take right off the bat. E, how about you?
Erik's ass is still muted.
Erik's muted. Noah, why don't you tell us more about Detroit?
No,
because I think it's kind of the armpit of America.
Oh, what I think of Detroit?
Yeah,
it was pretty rough. It was there was some nice development and stuff going on, but I didn't really see anything I liked. You think the Browns parking situation is bad downtown right now? We walked 2 miles from the closest parking garage that wasn't $60 effing to get to the concert to Ford Field. It was $80 for the garages next to the stadium. The Guardians and the Cavs don't do that. It's $20 to the connected lot still to this day. Cleveland, stand up. Not the armpit of America. At least we're not Detroit.
Well, wait till Brook Park, buddy. That's you're going to see those $80 parking. Why do you think they want to control it all?
That's a hard one for me. Listen, so let's say this hypothetically, they do the stadium in Brook Park and parking's $80. You just don't park, right?
No, you take the Rapid or something. There's not a chance in hell I'm paying $80.
There's a Rapid line right behind me. I just get up, walk my drunk ass down to the Rapid, and I'm good to go. So
I love the truth there. You're gonna be drunk on the way to the Rapid, not let alone on the way home from the game.
And the Rapid. You gotta have the on the Rapid beers.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. No shade. I was just saying I appreciate the honesty.
John, I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling since you didn't ask. Drinking your Shrek juice again.
I asked. You just were on mute. Yeah, and I'm the old man who doesn't know how technology works. Go ahead, Erik.
Fair enough.
How are you doing, buddy?
Fair enough. I'm glad you posted well today. Listen, I am such a conflict of emotions right now because on the one hand, I just saw How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake. I was very pleased that it was all adults in there because I was worried I'd be the only adult. There actually weren't any kids, so that was cool. That was good. On the other hand, Noah's pissing me off today doing Noah things. But then I'm sad because, in your intro, you said we're 3 work buddies and none of us work together anymore. Noah had his last day yesterday, so I no longer have to see his face in the office, which, again, conflict of emotions. That's good and bad.
I love how you're mad at me for doing Noah shit, but this is the 3rd week in a row where you've forgotten to unmute yourself coming out of the intro.
I think it's
not true. Last time you were supposed No. Last time you were supposed to unmute me. It just didn't work. So that's not on me or really on you. This time I will give you, I was so fired up at Noah having to eat ice cream and making us late that, I forgot to unmute because I was just ready to rock and roll into your ass. Time before that, who fucking knows? I don't know.
Pause, no Diddy on that. Rock and roll into my what? Anyway.
Diddy?
No Diddy. No Diddy.
Guys, speaking of, I actually want to get to sports real quick, but the other day Noah texted something and I had to Google it because I had no fucking clue what it meant. It was some, Gen Z bullshit. And it was a Kanye lyric. And I go, who quotes Kanye anymore? And this motherfucker immediately hits me back with, "Did you have to Google that?" And I was like, I mean, yeah, I did, but point
too
still
good, too
stands.
good.
Let's turn some of this energy that we're working up for each other into something else that we could pour it into. First topic, like I said, we're going to talk college pro football, basketball, Cavs, but I want to talk a little college on the TV front. So we've talked before at the show about the fact that Fox Big Noon Kickoff isn't college game day, leaves a little bit to be desired or a lot to be desired depending on who you ask. And there's everybody from trolls on X and Instagram throwing pot shots to the state of Ohio thinking about passing legislation that says by law the Buckeyes don't have to kick off at noon if they're playing the top 10 opponent. So get the creative juices flowing and get some of the vitriol out into another topic instead of each other. What is your take on Fox Big Noon Kickoff? Does it suck? Why are we trying to get out of it? What are your thoughts? Erik, why don't you get us started since you're successfully off of mute?
Thanks. Throw that timer up there. I don't need it. Yes, it fucking sucks. This is the absolute worst thing. It's all about dollar signs. We know that. Splitting between the three means that the prime game would always go to that kind of NBC slot, and they're not getting any prime Ohio State games. The shoe is rocking more when it's at night. They should pass that law. I think it's ridiculous that Fox has this. Why can't Fox just move it to 8 p.m.? I don't care if you compete with ESPN or whoever. Ohio State's the draw. Like, let's just get it done.
Spicy. Thank you, Erik. I'll share my thoughts last. Noah, what do you think about Fox Big Noon Kickoff?
Yeah, it sucks. I think we're all going to have the same sentiment. It sucks to watch Ohio State for big games at noon. I didn't grow up watching it that way. I know sure shit both of your old asses didn't grow up watching it that way. But, you know, I could take this in a positive route. Why doesn't Fox just do big 7 p.m. kickoff? It doesn't rhyme as well or whatever, but like if you could still keep the primetime game, just air it at a normal freaking time. I don't know.
Two things.
I hate it.
Yeah,
Two things. Big noon kickoff does not rhyme either. And John
rolls off the tongue was what I was looking for. My bad.
John actually is too old because they put in lights after he started watching football. So all he remembers is the big noon kickoff.
Ha ha ha. Hardy har har. Yeah, Noah, you can throw out my 30 seconds. I don't really disagree with either your takes, so I'll just spend my time correcting you. Lights were invented before I was born. But Noah, I did grow up watching Big Noon, whatever it was, because Big Ten football was almost always at noon. The Buckeyes played at noon, whether it was Michigan, even if we were ranked 1 and 2. So it is a little nostalgic. I think non-conference games, Ohio State versus Texas would be great in prime time. I kind of like the Buckeyes playing Michigan at noon, but overall,
well, yeah, that game wouldn't change.
Yeah, it might, especially if Michigan's ranked.
No, it's the law itself says specifically any game, a ranked team except for the big game.
Oh, good.
So they carved that out as an exception. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that game 100% should be at noon. It's always been at noon. It always will be at noon. Leave it at noon. But when we get these big games, like the fact that Texas, Ohio State, the first game of the season is at noon just pisses me off because it should be a primetime game. It should be an event for everyone, not only in Columbus, but up here in Cleveland partying, all of Northeast, all of Ohio, because Ohio State fans, reach the whole state. The fact that it's at noon, I can't do noon football every day. It doesn't get me excited. I don't know if it's because I then parlay that into watching 1 p.m. football with the Browns, so I don't want to get up twice early and get the whole day going like that. I want one of my days to, laze around on the couch, and I don't know. Big noon kickoff sucks. I haven't heard a single fan, whether it be Ohio State or any of the other Big Ten teams, say anything other than Fox Big Noon kickoff sucks and it hurts the game.
It also cripples success because, Penn State gets their big whiteout night game. But the team that leads the Big Ten consistently, I say that knowing we lost to Michigan several years in a row, but the team that leads the Big Ten definitely in ratings and matchups consistently gets hampered because they're the good team. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to get to the point where the Buckeyes can play more primetime games. I hate the fact that it's always at noon. Noah, if getting up at noon one day and getting up at 1 p.m. the next day is your definition of getting up early, I have serious questions that maybe we could talk about on another podcast. But I understand the sentiment of what you're saying, even though noon isn't early to even not just old man. I think any man, but I'll let
you're
Even
taking
me.
it too literal. I mean the whole process of getting up, getting set up for football, whether that is a day where you're boozing for the game or doing a cookout for the game, or maybe you're even just sitting on the couch, like having that back to back is kind of more so, I guess, what I'm complaining about. And to me, you guys know my fandom. My fandom's going to go to the Cleveland Browns over Ohio State every time, just because that's how I was raised.
That makes sense. I do think that if the Browns can play at 1 o'clock on Sunday most of the times, that noon a lot of the times is okay. I mean, it's still the Big Ten. They did put Ohio State, Michigan in prime time. When we were 1, they were 2. It was like game of the century, 42-39, I believe, final score. Excellent game, but that one was like an 8 p.m. kickoff. But for the most part, Big Ten football is played at noon or maybe 3:30. If we play Illinois, if we play Northwestern, if we play Purdue, give it to me at noon and I can watch Alabama, Georgia at night or whoever the big game is of the week. But I'm with you. If we're playing a top 10 team, at least give me like one of those 5, 6, 7 p.m. kind of slots, if not 8 o'clock. But yeah, Ohio State, Texas in the horseshoe at noon seems a bit early, especially for folks out west and in the other time zones.
But give me Gus Johnson in prime. That man alone deserves a prime time slot for our games.
Let's keep it super short. No take. Just say love him, hate him. Gus Johnson. I've heard a lot of stuff on both sides. I'm a love him guy, but
who hates him?
Noah, what do you think?
Gus Johnson's super oh my God, Jeremiah and Jigba into the touchdown, right? The guy who speaks. Yeah, no, I love him.
Yeah.
He's really good. I think he's really good.
Maserati Marv.
Yes, that was what I was trying to get at.
He has some bad nicknames sometimes, but he's one of the best to do it. I can't believe there's haters out there.
I love him. Yeah. The world famous Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yes, you guys are doing my horrible analogy of him justice now in the back end. So
or your impression. And John, you did give us that where he came up with the world famous, which is so cool.
The Jesse Owens?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically for those of you who weren't tuning into that episode, it's like a nod to Black history because when Jesse Owens was burning up all the track records back in the day, he's Ohio State Buckeye or Ohio State graduate. And word of Ohio State spread literally worldwide because Jesse Owens was a Buckeye grad. So thank you for the shout out, E. It's one of my favorite sports stories. Anything else before I keep us moving? Love it. Let's roll. Before we get to the water cooler, I want to remind you that our show tonight is brought to you this time and always by our friends at D&D. Oh, struggle bus. D&D. There it is. D&D Metery. I'll hold up too because I think Erik drank his last one and is waiting for a shipment to come in.
This is facts.
Twin brothers Derek and Dominic right up the road in Madison rekindled the long lost art of making mead. It's excellent stuff. You've heard us talk about mixing it, cooking with it, drinking it straight, drinking it on the rocks, all the different wonderful flavors they have. Still got to get one of the maple ones. Haven't tried that out yet, but had the blackberry and got the honey wine here. Those were both excellent. And don't forget, if you order, word is spreading. I'm seeing this stuff everywhere. You can get 5% off if you buy 2. They go fast. I would think about it if I were you because you're going to drink the first bottle down really quickly because it's that good. If you order with our code @the-office-CLE, @the-office-CLE. Been telling you since we got the sponsorship, we're going to change it. Nobody's changing it. It is what it is now, but use the code, get 5% off, get your free shot glass, and don't put it in the dishwasher, and you will have a wonderful evening. Thank you to D&D Meadery for the sponsorship. And now let's keep it pushing, gentlemen. So now it's time for a segment that doesn't need any introduction anymore because we've been doing it so often. It's called Around the Water Cooler.
I think that's the smoothest we've done that yet. Well played,
Pretty
gentlemen.
good. I like to set it up.
There.
It's like hitting the post. Like I'll set it up. You got your finger on it. You know where I'm hitting there, and I just cut, and it's good. You hit the cue, Erik, and I was doing the vocal. So because Noah wasn't a part of it, we'll say that was absolutely the best one we've ever done.
No, Noah hit the video.
It was me who did all of it. I always play the producer role. I have always done that. That has literally been my role, even when I host.
Hey, Noah, since Erik wasn't a part of that, we'll say that was definitely the best one, right?
Much better.
It's luster.
Water cooler topic. So some news broke out of the Cavs camp this past week since the last time we spoke with you. Darius Garland's toe injury was more than just a little bit of a sprain. He underwent a successful surgery, got a repair, but it's going to take some time to recover. Some people say he'll be back for the start of the year. Some people say maybe a little bit later. General consensus is miss a lot of preseason, probably not too many regular season games. But the question I have for you guys for water cooler today is, does the update on the severity of this injury change your mind about what the Cavs should do with Darius? Erik, I believe I let you start first last time. So Noah, why don't you get us kicked off this time around?
Yeah, myself, a lot of people, including myself, need to apologize to Darius Garland, in my opinion. He had a lot of soft allegations around his name because of what happened in the NBA playoffs. He, like you said, had surgery to repair the big left toe. The toe sprain is what the official injury diagnosis has been now. They haven't said if it was anything more than that since then, because I don't know why they didn't include that in anything, actually. Toe sprain, very similar to turf toe. If anyone's had it, it is a bitch, and it does hurt to walk on and try to run on and be shifty and cutty. Regardless, I still agree with the sentiment that he should have been out there, and it sucks that he didn't go out for game 2. He was out the rest of the series. Obviously didn't look completely like himself even then, but it does change my opinion for a plethora of reasons. First of all, the fact that the main reason we wanted to move off of Darius Garland is because he's soft, or that type of moniker of him being soft, that's a lot of what I've seen. I'm not saying you two specifically. I think is horrible at this point, because this dude played through what could be torn ligaments, realigning bones, the type of things that are needed when surgery is done to a toe sprain. But this also hurts his market now. And I don't want to give up Darius Garland for, Domantas Sabonis or Jonas Valanciunas and Malik Monk, because there's a rumor that the Sacramento Kings are interested in Darius Garland. Here's a tweet to show it for you.
Trae Young too.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said Trae Young too.
Trae Young too. But Garland's mentioned, so of course we got to bring it up. I am on the mindset that Garland should be on this roster next year. The injury concerns are there, 100%. I think they're valid, but I don't think you're going to get what this guy's worth, especially this offseason. Now, and Jared Allen, some of the role players, completely different story. But Darius Garland, hats off to you.
Yeah.
That's my take.
I think I'm kind of the opposite. And Erik, I was going to toss it to you, but because I pretty much disagree with everything Noah said, even though I come to this, I'm going to jump in now. He's still soft. Just because this injury wasn't soft to sit out because he needed surgery, because everybody on the Cavs team is soft, with maybe one or two exceptions, like Tristan Thompson and Donovan Mitchell. 2, it doesn't change what I want to do with him, because I thought he was the most expendable piece of this team because he could command the highest value on the market. But the issue with the guy is, soft or not, that he can't stay healthy. I love Darius Garland. I like watching him play. I like what he does for the team when he's available. But as I say all the time, the best ability is availability, and this guy is perpetually injured. Regular season, postseason, preseason, got a shoulder, got a finger, got an ankle, got a foot, got a toe. I mean, he just can't stay healthy, and we see it all the times with guys. They retire early, and you keep them and stick it out. I think if you can get something that meaningfully moves this team forward, you take it. Now, this is all a little bit hot coming in at Darius. For the record, love Darius Garland, love what he's done for the team, but you can love somebody and say we need to leave him to go where we want to go. I've not been happy with his playoff performance in any year, except maybe the first round of this one before he got hurt. I've not been happy with his injury history and his record there. I think he's consistently in the trainer's room, and he's got to be out there with the guys. And I also think he will command a premium on the free agent market or on the trade market because he is a unique talent. And I might end up eating these words, but if you think about how the Cavs move forward, we need more size with similar skill at the guard position, and we need toughness. He doesn't give us either of those things, and that's when he's healthy, and he's not healthy all that often. So to answer the question, my Garland injury does not – the Garland injury doesn't change my mind because my mind was already made up that if Darius had to go, he had to go, him and Jared Allen. So my take is still the same, but no, I don't think anything changes in light of the surgery and the recent updates. But Erik, what do you think?
I mean, bingo. I think you said everything. I kind of want to cede my time back like they do in Congress because you pretty much covered everything that I wanted to cover. The fact is that you're absolutely right. We need size. Running two small guards isn't doing us any favors. Exactly like you said, does it change him being soft? I never said that Darius was soft in the sense that, like I think Jared Allen's soft. They're soft in two different ways. But the fact is that nobody on this team other than Donovan is hungry. And when I look at the team top to bottom, these guys should be salivating right now, especially with the talent they have, to go out and win an NBA championship. I can't believe that we have to have the conversation that we need to motivate these guys somehow. But because of that, I think he needs to go. We can get a pretty good piece in return. I disagree with you that I don't think that this surgery sets him back in terms of his value or his worth. And you could even potentially package him with Jared Allen.
Can I caveat what you
had
just
your
said
time.
first?
I'm going to continue. Go ahead.
Let me caveat what you said for a
Talk
second.
for 5
because
minutes straight, but go on.
With the 4 to 5 minute or 4 to 5 month window that Darius Garland is respected to take to recover, we're talking about that eating into what is like the preseason camp window for the NBA, which is basically the main time that these guys are practicing and getting ready for the season, making chemistry, that kind of thing. Yeah, it does matter. You're talking about bringing in a point guard who's supposed to
the long-term future of a team and potentially getting a piece that they would think would make them a contender. Him missing practice, I promise you, does not matter and does not change his trade value whatsoever.
You don't think it affects the fact that a team like a contender might want to give up something? Like the Kings are an example of this. What do you want on the Kings? I don't want anything on the Kings. I think they would buy into this because of something like that. But yes, that playing period matters. You're talking about bringing in a core piece, a scoring threat, a main option in your offense, and he's not going to practice with the team at all.
Let me ask you this.
Does matter.
I mean, no, it doesn't, because the injury is the injury. His recovery window is the recovery window. We can't change those facts. But if I go to you, Mr. GM Noah, and I say, I have Darius Garland, he's going to take 4 to 5 months to recover from this, but you're going to turn it down and go, well, he's missing the practice window. Sorry, try again next year. No, it does not affect trade terms. Not at all.
It does. It doesn't affect that there's still going to be a market for him. It affects how high the market's going to be. Like I said in my initial take when we got in this, I don't want to trade him for peanuts on the dollar. I don't want Malik Monk and Jonas Valanciunas, which is a rumor I've seen around. I'm using the Kings because of the rumor that is mentioned. I don't want the scraps of some of these players that they have going on. They weren't a good team last year. If I'm trading a guy like Darius Garland, I want value. I want real value. Suggs could be a little bit of value. We talked about that last week. You guys were all in favor of that. But do they really want to give up Suggs to bring in a Garland? I don't know. Not being able to see him in the building until halfway through, or not halfway through the season, but potentially a couple of weeks into the regular season.
This is exactly why Kobe Altman and his team do their due diligence. That's exactly what they're there for. They're not going to go, hey, we really want to get rid of him. You have 3 cents in a rubber band. Let's do it. I mean, I think they've shown consistently over the years that they know what they're doing.
Right. I also think that you got to think there's a fallacy in your thinking. And I don't know if you meant to when you said it, but you said, I don't want Valanciunas. The Kings were a bad team last year. That ain't how the NBA works. There are good players on bad teams everywhere. So the
100%.
fact that the Kings had a shitty record. Oh, you literally
you did
said
say that. Literally.
I don't want
Those
the
were your
scrap
exact
of
words.
a shitty team's record or a shitty team's roster just because we're trying to move off of Darius Garland. I don't think you're getting anything good for Darius Garland.
You're getting too stuck on rumors that we have no idea who Altman and co are talking to. They could pull off a trade of the fucking year, package deal 2 or 3 players, and you go, wow, that was amazing. I mean, you're getting too stuck in the details that we don't know.
Yeah.
Right. But that's the point. Is the argument I'm making is I don't think Darius Garland's value is going to be high enough where it's worth anything at this point in terms of like making a deal worth anything.
That's a wild take.
It is a wild take.
I disagree, man.
If you put Darius Garland on the market, you have calls from 20 teams in the NBA.
He's on the market. It's been rumored he's on the market. That's already happened.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the calls are coming in.
They are.
We shall see, I guess.
Listen, here's where I fall, because the problem, in my opinion, is it's like saying, you know what, the Titanic's going down, but there's nothing we can do. There's no point in grabbing onto a door and trying to float away. It's a bad analogy, but the point I'm trying to make is just because we're saying we might not get fucking, I don't know, Giannis for DG, which we're not, doesn't mean that we can't get someone of value. What we do know is that for 2 straight years in a row, take out injuries or whatever, which I don't think you should, because the injuries matter to us because he's not playing. So regardless, we haven't gotten where we need to go. Mm-hmm. And so you need to make really hard decisions, and Darius Garland is one of those hard decisions.
I agree, but I don't know. There's something that is continuously stuck on my head, and maybe this is where I'm starting to differ and drift further away from some of the trade ideas that we've talked about on the show in weeks past, is the average age of the core 4 being so young. Now, I'm not saying you keep all of them, or maybe you do, and I think that there's a potential that that's what they're thinking, is we keep some of them, we move some of the role players, and we see what happens. We're all speculating at this point.
That argument is an argument that's saying, hey, in 4 or 5 years, we're in a championship window. Well, we have Donovan Mitchell. We should be in a window right freaking now. So to try to play for a championship 4 years from now, that makes zero sense as this team.
But that doesn't mean you're playing for a championship 4 years from now. That means
then what are you saying about the age?
That they're young, they're immature, and next year could be the year that they all get it together. It sure as shit looked like it was going to be this year until they all got hurt. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I think I speak for everybody when I throw up my hands and say, I don't know what happened, because we were one of, if not the best team in the NBA.
But we had zero fight. I'd rather have Dylan Brooks on this freaking team than who I have, because we showed zero fight. Apart from Donovan, we rolled over. And that's what pisses me off the most. I don't care if they're immature. You're a professional basketball player. It's time to step it up. And as an athlete, they've been in these positions before. They've played in state championships. They've gone far in the NCAA tourney. I'm sick of the excuse that they're young. They're talented. They won a lot of games during the regular season, and then they got soft and they showed their belly in the playoffs. That's my biggest issue. And if it takes us bringing in a guy, I say Dylan Brooks just because we know who he is and what the kind of fire. I don't actually like the guy. Draymond Green's another good example. That's what we need on this team. And just keeping DG because he's young, or Jared Allen, whatever. I get what you're saying, but it's not doing us any favors.
No. And we brought in players in different times. Oh my God, I just had his name. Who's the wing we just brought in from Atlanta?
DeAndre Hunter, who is a chippy guy in his own credit.
I like him. Yeah,
but that's my argument against your argument, Noah. The Hawks aren't any good and weren't going anywhere. We brought in a guy who at the time everybody argued was going to be.
You're focusing too hard on me talking about the.
Hold on, let me finish. He's the guy who we said was going to be the most. They said until the Cavs lost, he could be the biggest midseason acquisition like in NBA history. I think you're getting too if I'm focusing too much on the one part of it, you're focusing too much on the Valanciunas, and I don't want a bad player from a bad team. Well, none of us would trade him for hot garbage, But if you're saying, hey, you can get an apples to apples trade and get a tougher player who might average fewer points per game, who's a better fit for what the team needs, why is DG untouchable?
I'm not saying DG is untouchable. I'm saying that there is a lot more that goes into this now because of the injury, whether that be the fact that he has shown toughness playing through this injury, and we shouldn't be taking whatever deal comes across the table. Not that I'm saying that they are.
I don't think he played through the injury.
He did. He literally played the last 3 games of that series. He played game 3, 4, 5, and 5.
And sat out the 4 before it. That's not playing.
Yeah, but the injury didn't go away.
The injury didn't go away, John, just because he went on the court.
No, I guess maybe it's semantics. If somebody says to me a man plays through an injury, it means you get hurt and you don't miss a game. Doesn't mean you take 2 weeks off and then come back. That's not playing through an injury.
I think we're playing semantics big time. By the
way,
we're
playing semantics way too hard right now.
Something I noticed in that release, he had surgery at Vanderbilt University. We have some of the best hospitals, not just in the country, but in the world here in Cleveland. Why is he getting surgery at Vanderbilt University?
Didn't he go to Vandy?
He did.
I mean, either way, though, it's just a weird, I don't know. I just found that odd.
All right. I think we beat that one as far as we can. Jury's still out. Does Darius Garland change in the minds of fans everywhere based on what you learned about his injury? Some say yes, some say no. We'll have to see what the Cavs do. We're about the halfway point. Let's take a quick commercial break, pay a couple bills. When we get back, we'll get into the bigger topics. Going to talk a little bit about the Browns and Aaron Rodgers. But we'll be right back after this commercial break. All right, a couple spirited discussions to get us started, but we're back at the office. Before I go on, please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the download if you're going audio only, and drop us a comment. Whether you're streaming live or not, we love to hear from you, our loyal listeners. Also, a reminder to check out our merch shop. This is sacrilege, but I don't have any of my at the office things I could hold up, but Noah does.
I got you, man.
Appreciate
I got you.
You can check out our merch store. You get all kinds of great swag. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to Fans First Sports Network. They support us and all that we do. Last reminder on this, but you can still join us too. There's time. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or X, or text the show, 216-260-3433, 216-260-3433. Gentlemen.
I'm laughing because before we start a little inside baseball, Noah goes, John, don't move around so much in the frame. It makes it harder when we cut things. And John's like up here, over here.
He always does it, bro. Always.
We're going to build you like a box where you just can't move.
When I say Darius Garland didn't play through an injury, it's semantics. You're talking about my head placement on the video, and half the people are listening on audio. But that's fine. I'll take it. I'll sit still, Noah. Let me know if I do it again. We got Brown's mandatory minicamp. All of the optional shit is out. Did Myles Garrett lead the team, or is he we don't have to worry about it anymore because everybody has to be there. A lot of storylines developing. Good to see some of the other players show. Tons of activity on social media, whether it's talking about Nick Chubb playing for Houston or whether it's talking about our 52 starting quarterback options. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on mandatory minicamp, what we've seen. Now, it's Cleveland, and we know one thing is always true in Cleveland. If we're talking Browns, we're talking quarterback. So that's probably the main focus. But so far from what you've seen from minicamp, now that it's underway, what are your thoughts? Has anything changed since OTAs? Noah, you kicked us off last segment. Erik, why don't you get us rolling on this one?
Erik, I'm not trying to cut you off. I just want to play your video you had me pull to get us started here.
Okay.
You ever hit that bed? What's that? Definitely not. I don't know if I've ever hit a public dance move in my life.
Honestly, I forgot that I told you to pull that because what I want to talk about is actually completely different.
I was like, I don't think that helps at all, but thanks, Noah.
But
Erik told you to do it. That's fair.
I will start with that because I love that video so much. It shows me a lot in a 13-second clip. It shows me that Joe Flacco is the dad we expect him to be. He's never hit a dance move in his life. He doesn't even know what it is. It showed us that Shador's getting along with that quarterback room, and they actually talked about it because there's so much outside noise going on. And he said very specifically, we know what we have in the locker room, and it sounds like, honestly, one of the best situations. I know we go back and forth what's going to happen this year in terms of record, et cetera, and I know anything can happen. But that said, it feels like the kind of locker room that you dream for. I'm seeing brothers that are going to fight for one another. I hope I'm right. But the thing that I did want to point out that I'm excited about is Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson had a rough year last year. He was traded and released by multiple teams, like 3, 4. He hasn't gotten into the reasons or what happened last year. In fact, he specifically said that he didn't want to. But he did mention that the Cleveland Browns were the only team to reach out to him in free agency. We signed him to a veteran minimum. He's a big body receiver to go into that lineup. And from what I understand, he wants to change the narrative about himself. And everyone's kind of hyped on this guy. I love that he's putting in the work, that Coach Stefanski sees what he wants to see out of him. But more than that, I love that the Browns are willing to take a flyer on a guy that didn't work out, has talent, certainly. I mean, he was leading Carolina in receptions in the first half of that season, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously it went downhill, but that they're willing to take that risk on a guy and get somebody on the cheap that could work out and be a big name for us. I love it.
What about you, Noah?
Yeah, so I think me and Erik actually play off of each other super, super well here. I didn't want to cut in and piss him off. There was a quote about Sanders saying he gels really well with the guys, and they're a team and they're one, even though they're in a competition. The stuff you want to hear out of a quarterback in a 4-person quarterback room who's a rookie. Something else I wanted to say is the video of Joe Flacco and Shador Sanders is kind of the epitome of what that relationship is. He's joking with them, but they're serious. There was a quote, forgive me, from Jory Epstein from Yahoo Sports talking about how they joke around 1 minute, but then all of a sudden Sanders is walking out off the field and Joe's getting up off his knee to like go through the wrist coach and talk to him about stuff. Sanders was quoted today saying, "I'd be dumb. I'd be a fool to not get insight from him. I never feel, I would say, full. I'm always hungry." I also want to give a shout out to Shador, too. He was there 25 minutes after practice today, the only quarterback doing extra throwing drills after the practice. So there's a couple things I want to break down here. I'll go to Johnson. I'll come back to the quarterbacks. John, you can jump in and cut me off anytime if you have something to say here, because I have a slew of notes. I've been ready to talk Browns.
If you got a slew of notes, let's pause there because I do have a take. My biggest take is the same thing that we've been talking about before. My biggest takeaway is that Shador Sanders looks good and he's starting to gain some credibility and getting some run on social media. If you think you have 2 quarterbacks, you really have none. If you have 4, you're really screwed, and we have a 5th. So we're not in a great situation right now. But if you look at the cream rising to the top and who looks like they could actually be the answer for the future, way too early take. I know we haven't even seen him play a different team. He hasn't even played with the first team yet, but Shador Sanders went from draft afterthought, late round embarrassment to, damn, this kid looks good in camp. If we come out of our quarterback situation this year and are actually poised and prepared to make a run at the playoffs and the Super Bowl and have our quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, it's not going to be Joe Flacco. It's going to be Dylan Gabriel. It's going to be Shador Sanders. And hearing people who know football say that Shador Sanders looks good is a good sign. Now, I'm not buying Brown Super Bowl tickets. I haven't re-upped for seasons. I'm not donating to the new stadium fund just yet. We got a long way to go. But the big news for me is they're saying this kid is moving. He's coming early. He's staying late. He's saying the right things, doing the right things, leading the offense, and he's playing well. Only had 2 incompletions with the second team, threw for 2 touchdowns and something like 12 attempts. If there is something you can take away way too early from mandatory minicamp, I said Shedeur Sanders has already made moves in waves, and he's only really been in Berea for a month.
He moved ahead of Dylan Gabriel too in his reps, and then what people are expecting. By the way, John, they do not need your money because the Ohio Senate did pass today the $600 million.
Yes, they did.
Going to that stadium,
which is a third of what it'll cost, but fair.
Let me jump.
$82 wasn't going to help anyway.
Let me jump back in on some
number.
of this quarterback stuff. Something I've noticed, and I've seen a lot of reporters notice as well, is the fact that Sanders has been paired with Joe Flacco mostly, and Dylan Gabriel has been paired with Kenny Pickett mostly.
Who?
So
he doesn't
Pickett.
get much love around here.
Right. So let me put my conspiracy theory hat on just for 1 second, please, if you guys don't mind. I am of the belief that they are talking up Kenny Pickett right now to entice other teams to maybe give up a draft pick for him, whether it be like a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, what have you. Maybe they're doing the same thing with Dylan Gabriel a little bit because of what they're seeing in Sanders. I don't think for a second that they didn't love Dylan Gabriel. If you saw the reaction with Kevin Stefanski on the phone when they drafted him, they loved Dylan Gabriel. But there was another team that loved Dylan Gabriel, and that was Miami. He was high on Gabriel. They were high on Gabriel. Planning to take picks later. They ended up not. Maybe it's in the cards for a Miami trade. Nothing crazy. Maybe it's a 4th or a 3rd or whatever it looks like. But maybe it's in the cards, and that's what they're doing there. Again, conspiracy theory hat on, so take it with a grain of salt. But something
if we're going to be conspiracy theorists, give me Tyreek Hill. Too much.
Well. Yeah, you're trying way too hard there. Something else I want to touch on too is Sanders hasn't taken any teams with any reps with the first team so far. He did get his first public reps with the second team, however, today, and there was a dot thrown. I don't want to call it a dot. It was in stride. It was a regular throw to Deontay Johnson, and it made me think maybe the reclamation project and the future franchise are getting together already. I digress. You guys want to talk stats real quick? Then we can get into Deontay a little bit.
Let's do it.
So this is the stats from the first 2 days of mandatory minicamp. We got Sanders, 18 for 21, 3 touchdowns. Flacco, 3 for 7, 1 touchdown. They have limited a lot of Flacco's reps to let the young guys get in here. I think that's really smart on their part, honestly, for a minicamp. Dylan Gabriel, I typoed. It's 26 for 34, not 126 for 34 and 3 touchdowns. And Kenny Pickett, 12 for 21, 4 touchdowns. Which your reactions, obviously, minicamp stats are volatile and kind of dumb nonetheless.
Yeah, not a lot to take from that.
No, but it's better than them sucking. I remember years ago show the slash line for the 3 quarterbacks the Browns brought to camp. There'd be no touchdowns, 2 completions across 50 throws, and you're like, "Holy shit, Brady Quinn is awful." And it's like, yeah, we're doomed. So
who would have guessed?
Too much you can take from it on the positive side, but the guy's not sucking. It does for this franchise at this position means something.
By the way, James Laurinaitis took his head off, and the Cleveland Browns went, "Yep, that's our guy."
Interesting. Do you guys take any stock into the fact that Sanders hasn't had any reps with the first team yet?
No. I think they're letting him earn his spot. I think he will get reps eventually.
I also think that they're kind of, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, I think that they're kind of trying to protect the media storm as long as they can. Behind closed doors, I feel like he's had some reps with the first team so far already. But if they give him reps this early with the first team, whether it makes sense, ESPN, that's all they're going to talk about tomorrow.
I also think that there's an element of him having to prove it. I don't want to call conspiracy on the draft, but clearly the NFL team said this kid could go number 1 or number 2, and he didn't go in the first 3 rounds. So one could look at that and say he needs to be humble. Just because your dad is Deion doesn't mean you're going to play at the same level. Have some humble pie and sit. I think the Browns are slow playing him on purpose to make sure his head doesn't get too big. Because if this guy is out here taking half of the first team reps, showing out in practice, you know what it's like. A, he's a quarterback. B, he's Deion's son. C, he's a black quarterback. D, he plays in Cleveland. There are 100 million people waiting to pounce on this kid. And if he's playing well, it's all going to go to his head. So I think they're slow playing it on purpose.
Two things can be true at once, my friend. I think what you said and what I said are exactly correct in what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Erik, I want to challenge you for a second because you said you're feeling good about Deontay Johnson. I think that there's no reason not to be. He is currently being viewed, I would think, as like at least a starting wide receiver at this point. He's not doing work on special teams like a lot of these fringe roster guys are. He's over with the vet wide receivers when it's those types of periods. I think they hope for him to maybe be wide receiver number 2 or number 3, depending on what happens with Tillman. Obviously, he was out with that concussion. Something I didn't like, though, which is something that you mentioned, but kind of brushed past. I don't like that Deontay didn't take any ownership of what happened with himself last year. Obviously, if 3 teams passed on you, there's something more going on there.
Hold on. I want to cut in, and I apologize. I want to finally pull a Kanye like you like to do, because we don't know that he didn't take ownership, because taking ownership could have been with Cleveland Browns ownership, with Cleveland Browns coaching.
That's
what
valid.
It does not have to be, and what I don't think he owes anybody is quote unquote ownership to the media. I don't think he has to come out as a man. You know, he didn't do anything. He didn't go get a DUI and kill a family. So I don't think he owes media anything. I know, you know, with the way the NFL goes, we expect that from these guys. I'm here so I just don't get fined comes to mind. But I think there is a difference, because I don't want to blanket say he didn't take ownership when he very may well have, but we're not owed that by any stretch, in my opinion.
Noah, do me a quick favor too. It's one of my pet peeves of sports talk, but I don't want to assume that everybody who's listening now has listened to every episode and knows everything about everything. Can you, in like 15 seconds or less, we're alluding to last year and what he did, give us a little taste of what you're talking about?
Yeah, he was on the Panthers and he got cut there, and then he was on the Ravens and he got cut there, and then he was on the Texans and he was cut there, and then I think he took another cup of tea with the Ravens for like a week and got cut there
with a playoff reception, if I'm not mistaken. We don't know why is the point, John. We don't know the specifics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I was familiar with it, but just for the folks who are listening, like, what the hell did this guy do last year? This is my second time listening. Right. I haven't watched the Browns stuff. Yeah.
No, totally valid. I just don't like that the quote that went around today was last year is last year, this year is this year. It feels so brushing off of something that is so blatantly in the media. I get it. He doesn't owe us. He doesn't owe direct media members. He doesn't owe the fans, whoever, whatever label you want to put on it, anything. But when you have a stigma around your name, I think the main thing you should be doing, especially if you're on your last legs of your NFL career, because someone who gets cut 3 or 4 times like that in a season is on the last legs of their career, needs to do everything that they can. He said,
I'm gonna disagree with you real quick.
Okay.
And that is that the thing that matters the most is that he catches footballs for the Cleveland Browns. I'll tell you this, I do not give a shit about the 5 other teams. He doesn't owe them anything, and they can go pound salt as far as I'm concerned. So as long as he's catching footballs and performing, first of all, that's all that matters. If he does that and he's a true number 2 or maybe even looks like a number 1 for us, that opens up doors, because all people care about in this league is talent. If he shows, hey, I lasted an entire season with the Browns, I didn't have any issues, I had 1,000 yards, receiving yards, that's all it takes. So I disagree with you a little bit, because I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's on his last legs unless he messes it up again.
Which is very well plausible considering he's on a veteran minimum with no guarantees.
We'll see, sure.
Show up with... You know, what's interesting to me real quick, this is a sidebar on the whole tangent. He never had an issue in college or when he was with the Steelers, which, you know, they tend to figure out how to cover up some of this stuff really well. But when he was at Toledo, he had no problem. So it's still confusing to me that till this day where this all came up. Did he just get a big head? Maybe. Who knows?
Every receiver that comes out of Pittsburgh is brain damaged. I mean, every single one of them has an issue after they're at Pittsburgh. So
I think there's more to the mystery. It's like, did we really land on the moon and who shot JFK? We don't have the answers to some things. They just
We do, but
well, right. Well, at least one of the two. Maybe
yes, and Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. Agreed on one, TBD on two.
Right.
But no, I just think that there's an allure when you don't know something about somebody and people get obsessed and fixated on it. And it's even easier. This is a non-story in week 7 of an NFL season. But because he did all this stuff off season, now it's training camp, there's not much to talk about except the Guardians can't beat the Reds. That it's like, what are we going to grab onto? I think Eric's exactly right. If the guy catches footballs and plays well, he'll be around and it'll be fine. If he doesn't, he won't. I will say I've seen a lot of training camp, mini camp, OTA heroes not show up so well, even in preseason, let alone regular season. Everybody from, Brian Robisky to Carlton Mitchell, there were guys who were like, oh man, with no shirt on and flags on their waist and nothing on but cleats and receivers gloves. These guys look great. And then you play the Ravens, they look like shit like everybody else. So he's got a long way to go too. But I hope he plays well. We got Jerry Jeudy and a dozen question marks at wide receiver. So here's hoping that he plays well because we need somebody to step up into that. We really need a number 1, in my opinion. But if Judy's going to be number 1, we definitely need number 2.
By the
100%.
way, gentlemen, all we've done is talk about the offense. And there's a guy that is at minicamp talking trash already about Aaron Rodgers, and I love it. And that guy is Myles Garrett. He's saying, it's time to add another headstone. I'm paraphrasing here. He, of course, is referring to his Halloween yard when he does it up. And a couple years ago, he put the headstones of each quarterback that he has sacked over the years. He has never sacked Aaron Rodgers. And I'll bet every dollar I have that will change this year.
You bet every dollar you have?
Oh, every dollar.
That'll get a sack against. I guess they only play him twice, but
yeah, I was like, it's not baseball. Yeah. They don't have 19 games.
No, I still feel good about that.
That Steelers offensive line, I don't want to call them Swiss cheese because they're not. They've added some pieces, but they aren't a great offensive line. I would put a lot of money on the fact that Myles Garrett gets 1 sack on Aaron Rodgers. And I know we're going to get into him on a second. Did you guys also see the Jim Schwartz said in the media last week about, with that contract comes big responsibility, and everybody took and ran with it about the leadership thing. And Myles basically came out today and he's like, my coach wants me to have a career year. And hell yeah, I'm going to have a career year was kind of how it was. It almost felt like it was a challenge at first, but it was really, it is a challenge, but different optics, different semantics. Yes.
I love that this team is, I don't know. It reminds me of a few years ago with Baker where we're just gelling together. Nobody's taking what the media runs with. We're staying insulated as a team and going, you know what? ESPN's going to go right that Schwartz and Garrett have it out for one another, but that's not the case internally. We know what we're after. I got to say, I think I'm getting dumplings from a couple different people. I made a bet today with Evan on dumplings as well with the record. So I'm going to have dumplings galore for the next year because I'm feeling good.
Hey, as a fan, I hope you are 100% correct. It's giving me the warm, fuzzy vibes of Baker's rookie year. It's not giving me over 500 vibes. So warm and fuzzy, not 500.
5 or more wins, I get dumplings from Evan.
Wow. So, that's a 2-game decrease from what they need for you to get them from me?
Do they need 7 to get them from you? I don't know. We got to start writing these down because I'm making a lot of dumplings.
I can't remember if 6 is a push or 6 I win, but it was right either 6 or 6.5. But
by the way, gentlemen, speaking of dumplings, I'm just going to call it now on the show. The moment she's back in town, which I don't know when that is, but we've got to meet up because I missed them already.
We need a live show at LJ Shanghai for the amount of times we've talked about her dumplings on this show.
She'd do it. Get in that side room over there.
Yeah, why not?
I was shocked. I went for dinner alone right before she closed because I wanted it one last time, and everybody was busy. It was super last second too. They were packed. That whole side room was filled. So she for the dinner rush. But yeah, hopefully she's enjoying her trip
We've been in there for lunch a few times where that place was full.
Yeah.
Guys, it feels like we're naturally progressing. We talked about whether or not Myles Garrett's going to sack Aaron Rodgers. That's a good dovetail into our last topic. Aaron Rodgers, for those of you who didn't know, has finally signed, and it was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as predicted and anticipated by many. But Aaron Rodgers has kind of a checkered past. He gets all of these wonderful accolades, but he only won one Super Bowl. He's kind of a journeyman at the end of his career, even though most of his career was the Packers. Didn't play all that. Yeah, at the end of his career.
Okay.
I don't know, 3 teams in 3 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a journeyman, but keep going.
Journeyman, journeyman's a stretch, but we're arguing semantics.
I think we're arguing semantics, Eric. It's semantics.
Stay in the middle,
whether
John.
or not you think Aaron Rodgers
Yell at me in the middle of the
Pittsburgh
screen.
Steelers is actually going to make a difference. What do you think about him signing in the black and yellow?
Wait, who's starting?
Noah.
Go for it. Oh, okay, I'll go for it. It doesn't concern me whatsoever. His face value stats look great. 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. There is a fantastic analytical stat created by ESPN in 2011 that a lot of people swear and die by. It's called QBR. Have you guys heard of QBR?
Never.
For those who don't know what QBR is, it's total quarterback rating. It's a proprietary stat. It includes fumbles and taking a sack and, the length of throw, everything. It includes everything and then some, and is broken down to a number. Aaron Rodgers' QBR last season and that entire season with the Jets was 48. You know where that put him?
30.
25th in the league. He'll be cool.
How many Browns were after him?
I'm not talking Browns right now. We're talking the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. He'll look good. He'll have some yards. They'll go 9-7. They'll lose in the first round again, or they'll go 8-8 and not make it 8-7. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me on the basis of it's the same Pittsburgh Steelers team that we faced the last couple years, so the confidence does not fluctuate whatsoever.
I disagree.
Yeah, me too. Go ahead, E.
Well, first of all, I think there's something that came out of minicamp that we have to touch on immediately. Aaron Rodgers is married. Did you guys see this? He got married. He's been married for months. Nobody knew. Nobody knows who his wife is. All these publications are trying to figure it out. I'm sure there's got to be a marriage license, right? Unless he did some secret dark treaty thing that
which is possible.
Split their finger and stamped it on an envelope and then burnt it while smoking ayahuasca. Whatever that does.
But the fact that he's married and nobody knows, and I'll be willing to bet that his own family probably doesn't even know who his wife is, knowing him.
Oh, he's a weirdo, man.
That is insane. That said, based on that stat, things are going to go well for Pittsburgh this year. Here's my take. This is a changed man, fellas. He doesn't have to worry about tabloids breaking up with the girl that was in Secret Life of American Teenager. Can't think of her name. He doesn't have to worry about, this girl, that girl. He is married. She's going to be home cooking for him in Pittsburgh. She's a yinzer. I'm making that up. I don't know who she is. But here's the thing. His stats last year, I get the QBR stat, but his stats were nearly identical to one Josh Allen. Nearly identical yards, same touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, couple more interceptions. The man can still sling it, and he now has more weapons around him, and he has a defense. What Pittsburgh has needed is what I've said for years that the Browns have needed, and that's a game manager. They need a guy that's not going to go turn the ball over, that's going to make smart decisions with the football, doesn't need to be Tom Brady in his prime or Aaron Rodgers in his prime. That's not what they need. This guy can still go and make the throws. I'm calling them as a second-round playoff loss. I think they will make the playoffs. I think they'll get over the hurdle of the first round, assuming how the matchups fall. Where I don't have them better than the Ravens. I don't have them better than Buffalo. I don't have them better than KC. The AFC is tough, but I think they're a playoff team.
I
want to
agree
know
with
what Josh.
Erik. I don't think that. I agree 100% that we had a conversation on this show either last week or the week before. We basically said, "Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers a threat?" And I think Erik and I said yes because they're always a threat. And Noah kind of said no, poo-poo, they're going to stink. And I was like, they've never had a losing record. That was all true before they got Aaron Rodgers, who isn't maybe the old Aaron Rodgers, but he's better than whoever was playing quarterback each of the last few years in Pittsburgh. So if you think about the whole, can they win 9 or 10 games just because they got Tomlin and a good defense? That has to get at least a little bit better. So that 9 to 10 for me goes to 10 to 11. If the Steelers win 11 games, they're absolutely in contention. They can beat the Ravens in the division, although I wouldn't bet on it. They certainly can compete in the AFC, and I think the same thing. With Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, and that defense, this is a team that makes the playoffs and wins their first playoff game, and then from then we'll see what we get.
John, you just said that Aaron Rodgers is better than whoever's played quarterback for the Steelers the last couple of years. Aaron Rodgers QBR, say it with me now. 48.
No, we're not going to play this game because he played this
Russell
QBR.
Wilson.
He had this
Russell
QBR
Wilson's
with a
QBR
different.
is 51.3. Stats matter, bud.
He also played on the Jets.
Noah, your QBR in high school was 111. Does that mean you should start for the Steelers? No.
No, we're not talking about high school. We're talking. And again, you're
Jets. They suck.
The Jets, right?
John gets real close to the camera making a point.
No, I'm scratching my leg. I got bit by a mosquito freaking thing. But anyway, go ahead.
The Jets, who you guys said had less weapons than the Steelers. Tell me who the second wide receiver is for the Steelers behind DK Metcalf.
Don't want to.
Why? Because you can't do it and it's a good point?
No, I want to hear your point. I don't want to play guessing games.
Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, who has chemistry with Aaron Rodgers at the Jets. We had Breece Hall, who is a damn good running back in the Jets. They had a solid offensive line, and I think it was Tyler Conklin was still their tight end, who is a little worse than Freiermuth, but like tomato.
So Aaron Rodgers had what everybody says is a Hall of Fame career for like 15 years, played for the Jets and forgot how to play football. Now he just sucks. That's your take.
He's old and tore his Achilles.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I remember that happening.
Did you just say that the Jets' offensive line was good?
He did.
I thought it was good. If I'm wrong, then please tell me I'm wrong.
There's nobody on the Jets is good. It's the Jets. That's the point I'm trying to make. Guy went to football in Siberia, and you're like, his QBR was 53. Joe Montana in his prime, Tom Brady in his prime, QBR might have been 70 on that team. They suck. The Jets are awful.
70's a good QBR.
You're talking total QBR, not the original, I guess.
Their O-line injuries derailed them, by the way. They were okay, but took 26 sacks. And 145 pressures. So injuries really killed that O-line. Yeah,
I was going to say, I thought they had solid pieces on that O-line. And
yeah, they had, I will say, I'll give you credit. They had an 87.2 PFF pass blocking efficiency rating, which was 7th in the NFL. So it's not terrible. Nothing to be ashamed at. That's for sure.
So the fact of the matter of what I'm going to say is I could put my foot in my mouth with this, right? But if you look at the advanced numbers, if you look at what's more there than just, Aaron Rodgers had similar stats to Josh Allen, yeah, that's a great argument as a Steelers fan. But you look deeper. He's butting heads with a great young receiver like Garrett Wilson. He had a horrible QBR. A team passed on him for a reason. A team that hasn't had a quarterback for just as long as the Cleveland Browns.
He didn't have Mike Tomlin. Everything you said, listen, Mike Tomlin runs a really tight ship.
He's Aaron freaking Rodgers, Erik. He's a nutcase.
That'll be interesting how that locker room is handled. But I'm telling you right now that comparing him on the Jets and what he could get away with, and that's not going to be the same case with the Steelers.
You could be totally right, but this to me looks like a ticking time bomb. It did when he started getting rumored there. It does now when you start looking at the numbers. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
And I hope you're not. I hope you're right.
No, I hope you're right too. But I also think you're a little bit of a hater when it comes to the Steelers because they're the Steelers. Rightfully so. We all hate the Steelers on some level. But there are, I don't know what the opposite of rose tinted glasses are, shit tinted glasses, I guess. When you look at the Steelers, we're talking about a team that since you were in utero has not had a losing season. So for you to go, they suck and they're out, they're going to win 3 games is insanely ludicrous and asinine.
Noah in utero.
First of all, I said that they're going to be 9-7 or 8-8 or whatever the math is on that. 9-7.
There's 17 games, Noah.
9-8 is on 8.
9-8, 8 or 9-8, 8-9. Sorry, the 17 and 16 game season thing.
It does throw you a little bit. I'll give you a break on that. Question:
You're saying,
but it is important. Just a quick side note: is your QBR when you're quoting QBR stats out of 100 or out of 158.3? That's
100.
Okay, because it is the new. Because I said it's QBR would be 70. You're like, that's a good QBR, and I was like, yep, something's off.
I was thinking of 158 too. That's interesting.
Thank you.
Okay. No, I had it flat. I'm using the ESPN QBR when I talk about this.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to add real quick, John, is you talk about me having rose tinted or shit tinted glass, whatever the hell came out of your mouth with that analogy. You guys do the reverse, and I get why you do the reverse with Mike Tomlin. But I'm not buying into that.
You mean we're objective journalists on our sports
I'm
show?
being objective too. I'm putting numbers in front of your face that tell you why
fair.
this is good. You're just like, no, it's the Steelers. Mike Tomlin's there, so they're gonna go 9-8, and they might. That's totally fine. They might.
We go on
a QBR. Go ahead,
and what he's done. Listen. It's not that we're putting Mike Tomlin on a pedestal. We've talked about his issues. We've talked about his in-game management issues. We don't even need to go down that argument. What we base our take on is how he's run the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and what they've done. We've seen it. We've seen that they cut the fat real quick when there's ever an issue, and that he controls that locker room.
Yes.
So to say that you think it's going to go otherwise, there's no historical precedent for that. That's the issue with the tape.
That's literally what I was going to say too. When we're throwing stats at each other, your stats are based on QBR when Aaron Rodgers played for the Jets, which I think is a subpar team. Our stats are what have the Steelers done for 20 straight years without fail. We have a long list of history that we can cite to say, here's why we think the Steelers aren't going to suck, even if I'm not calling them Super Bowl contenders. But they made a small improvement at quarterback. They'll make a small improvement in wins. You're saying, well, he stunk with the Jets last year, so he'll stink again because he's old. We got more track record. You could still be right, but that's where my argument's coming from.
And by the way, a small improvement on what was a playoff team.
What was a playoff?
The playoffs.
You bet.
I don't think he's an improvement. I think he's Russell Wilson 2.0. I don't think it does anything for them. And I think he's also a head case where Russell Wilson's head case is, he's a little corny because he walks out like he's a superstar listening to music, clapping the crowd up like he's the best thing.
What was the Denver thing? Let's roll or whatever. Let's
rock
ride.
This country. Let's ride. Yeah.
He's so cheesy.
I'm really curious to see how the AFC North plays out this year with us having a quarterback gauntlet, but having good vibes in terms of stuff like we talked in our last segment. The Steelers trying to rehash another old quarterback. The Ravens looking like us in terms of the Cavs, where they get to the playoffs, they look really damn good, and then they fizzle out. And then, of course, the Bengals with the best offense, arguably, in football, and the worst defense, arguably.
Do you guys? So I put the Ravens as the premier, top of the AFC North. Do you guys think that the Bengals, or any team for that matter, can challenge them in that?
Yeah.
I don't. Not at this juncture of what I know with all the teams, with what the Bengals record did. John, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy. I'm just feeling fiery right now. With what the Bengals did last year, with how I feel about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback.
So you think they're far and above going to run away with the division?
13 win team perennially, and the AFC North winner this year. Yeah.
John?
To answer the question, if I had to bet, I think I still bet on the Ravens, but your question specifically was, can the Bengals and Steelers compete or challenge them? And the answer to that is absolutely. You're talking about a Steelers team that's never had a losing record, made the playoffs last year, and I think improved a little bit at quarterback. It's at least going to be a tough out. That's a rivalry game when they play the Ravens. And the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, 4 years ago, with a defense that was better than this one, but not great. They still got all the offensive weapons, and if everybody stays healthy, you got to at least think that Joe Burrow can ball out. I mean, they balled out last year on offense. You're talking about a guy who got MVP votes with a losing record because he played so well at quarterback. If their defense could stop a nosebleed, that team is going to present a bunch of challenges for a lot of teams this year too. So we'll talk more once the season's here about what exactly we think in terms of record. But here and now, can the Steelers or Bengals compete with the Ravens for AFC North supremacy? You bet your ass they can. They can flat out win the thing.
Can I make a crazy prediction right now?
Go for it.
I think the injury bug is going to hit Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have some type of season-ending injury. He's slippery as hell, but it's a position where, how he plays quarterback, I think it's been coming. And I think that will open it up a little bit.
Could. That definitely could. The other thing I'll say is I'm glad you asked about the regular season, not the postseason, because the Baltimore Ravens are the Cleveland Cavaliers of the NFL. They're going to look great in the regular season. They're going to look great in the regular season, and then you're going to get to the end of the year. We'll see.
It's an echo in here. But to be fair, it's our argument with Pittsburgh with the Ben Roethlisberger teams. You're going the wrong way, John. But Pittsburgh ran into Patriots at their prime. They ran into the Chiefs. And I feel like that same thing can be said for Baltimore. They're running into the Chiefs at their prime, Buffalo, etc. So I don't know if we put bad playoffs squarely on the shoulders of that team.
That's fair.
That's funny.
Royal Havana in the comments has been absolutely on fire, in case either of you haven't got a chance to read them. Some of them I can't put up on the screen, but they've been absolutely fantastic nonetheless.
Please tell me that's in reference to Miles saying that what's his name used a racial slur. That's got to be right, because you get it right, Jussie Smollett.
Yes.
Noah doesn't get it. So Jussie Smollett was this actor on Empire, and he was they were based out of Chicago. They filmed there, and he decided that he was going to. So news came out that he was mugged in Chicago. He was out really late one night. Two guys in MAGA hats mugged him and put a noose around his neck. Mind you, this is a gay black man, put a noose around his neck. He feared for his life, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it very quickly changed into he paid two guys to do that. He was trying to garner sympathy to basically get a pay raise and be this national news anti-MAGA guy. So Jussie Smollett, or Juicy Smollett, as what's his name calls him in a stand-up special.
Williams?
No, the guy from Dayton. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Dave Chappelle?
Thank you, Chappelle. He completely made it up. He's blacklisted, etc. Obviously, even went to jail for a little bit because he lied to FBI investigating this thing. So anyway, I think what that comment was getting at was Miles saying that Mason Rudolph uttered a racial expletive, which is what caused him to hit him over the head. And obviously, there's been no proof. Whatever. I don't know where you guys fall on that, but funny comment.
It is, and after all of that explanation, Raul chimed back in to say, no, I meant asking to be traded. That was the reference. So.
Well, Raul, you had a much funnier comment than you intended.
This is another good sign. I think we've gotten all of Aaron Rodgers that we're going to get. Coming up on time, I'm going to move us towards the end of the show. Any last thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and the Browns before we get to hot takes?
No, but I can't wait to see him in the turf by Myles Garrett, because I do think that's coming, and I'm excited.
You saying you would bet your entire net worth that he gets a sack on Aaron Rodgers is wild.
Net worth is a little wild. I agree with you, but I would definitely bet. Joke's on you. I got $2. No, but I would bet dumplings on it with you if you think that he won't sack him.
I don't want to take the bet. I actually think if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy and Myles stays healthy, there's a really good chance. No, not for 6 figures worth of money, but I think there's a very good chance that Aaron Rodgers ends up on his back looking up at Myles Garrett at some point this season.
Well, if I were Drake, I would put the $5 million bet he likes to make on that, but I'm not. So
Drizzy got the money, so Drizzy's gonna pay. All right,
indeed.
Let's bring it home, gentlemen. One of my favorite parts of the show: hot takes. What's on your mind? What are you burning on? What do you think? What's a little spicy? Give the listeners something to leave with. Noah went first in the last segment and a half-ish kind of thing. So, Erik, why don't you get us started?
I'm actually going to go last year, if you guys don't mind. So, John, why don't you go first? You've been hosting, teeing it off. You go first this time. Oh, he doesn't have one.
I have
put him
one.
On the, oh, okay. I'm like, we put him on the spot, and he doesn't have one.
My hot take this week, Erik is probably going to like. Just I've been reading a lot about tennis. I don't love tennis, but I like it. It's a sport that I watch like casually. And since my favorite tennis player of all time, Serena Williams, retired, I've been struggling to find who's going to fill that void, much in the same way I've been struggling to figure it out with golf. I watch all the tournaments, but Tiger was Tiger, and Bryson DeChambeau doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, fuck Bryson.
So,
by the way,
so my hot take this week isn't all that hot. It's just a shout out to Coco Gauff. Has nothing actually to do with being a black female tennis player. Just has everything to do with representing the sport well, playing hard. I watched her win her first major at the U.S. Open in New York. I believe it was last year. Super emotional. Watched her a couple years ago. Watched her go up into the crowd, and now she's on her way to potentially a career Grand Slam, but she's not as dominant as Serena or even Venus at their prime, or Monica Seles and some of the other greats. But I think she's just a good ambassador for the sport and the brand, and she carries herself well. And she's an American tennis player, and I'm rooting for her. So I want to give her a little shout out and some love because she won another tournament here recently.
I love that. I want to say two things off of that. First of all, the women's tennis scene is fascinating right now, because you have a group of players that have been dominant. Iga Swiatek won, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 5 French Opens in a row. She got bounced this year. The girl that beat her is Aryna Sabalenka, which is who Coco Gauff beat. Sabalenka's comments I didn't like afterward, basically saying that Coco didn't beat me. I beat myself. I made too many mistakes. Girl, you got beat. She took advantage maybe of those mistakes, but that was bullshit. And she did clarify later. I think Sabalenka's just really raw. She's Belarusian, and I think that's just their personality, to be honest. But tennis is really, really good right now. I thought that Rafa retiring, some of the all-time greats bowing out, there have been kids that have stepped up, because on the men's side, Carlos Alcaraz came back to defeat Jannik Sinner in an incredible match. I don't know if you caught that one, but those two are playing such good tennis right now. It's insane. And oh, by the way, Novak Djokovic is still around and still competing for titles. So if you guys do anything, like if you only watch the majors, that's fine. The Wimbledon, the London Open is the next major. Grass season's coming up, but it's worth watching, and it's been awesome, honestly.
Did you call it the London Open?
Yeah, I just made that up. It's Wimbledon.
I know, but I was like, I've never heard the London Open before.
Neither have I.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Especially since I think it's invite only, so by definition it's not open, but I might be wrong about that.
You're probably right about that. You know, one of our
the London closed.
Yeah,
I'm
it
going to
is.
tell you right now, I'm going to design an At the Office shirt with the London Open graphic on the back, because it's like the shirts where you get away because it's not a real thing, but you can't put Wimbledon. So expect that soon.
Don't hate it.
Good to know. Good to know.
What's your hot take, Noah?
Yeah, my hot take starts with a clip, so let me roll it.
I meant to tell you this earlier, but I'm really proud of what you've done, how far you've come. Just take that to Seattle tomorrow, okay?
Where?
Seattle.
When?
Right? Tomorrow. So you're done. You're not playing anymore this game. You're going to go play for Seattle. All right? Congratulations. Hey.
Thank you. Come on, kid. I got to go to work.
Pack, left field. Left.
Love
So
it.
that was a
awesome.
clip. That was a clip from a longer video from the Mariners when one of their top prospects, top in the MLB, actually top 40 to 60, depending on what the time or what year it is. Cole Young got called up middle of his AAA game. His coach surprises him, tells him what's going on. I just wanted to play that clip and say, if you need a moment to remember why you love sports and why you pay attention to sports as a whole, here's a reason to do so. And by the way, Cole Young's been doing pretty well. He went 1 for 4 and promptly recorded a walk-off fielder's choice in the 11th inning to seal a win in his first major league game, batting .222, 3 RBIs, and 8 hits as of right now. Erik, I want to hear what you have to say for your final take, man.
I do too. Just a quick comment on that. It won't be as long as Eric's comment on tennis, although highly enlightening. No, you're good. It was actually super enlightening. I'm glad you made it because we don't talk a lot of sports outside of Cleveland. But can you imagine what that feeling would be like? Like I remember being a junior or a sophomore playing freshman baseball, JV baseball at Cleveland Heights, and then my coach saying, "Hey, you're going to play varsity for the next game," handing me the home and away jersey, and me switching practices and feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to play varsity baseball as a sophomore in high school. What would it be like to be like, you're going to play for the Mariners tomorrow? That's insane.
It's funny
I
you
love
say
those
that
videos.
because the closest I can relate is very similar. Got called up as a sophomore and we went to state in baseball. But yeah, I love seeing these moments with the coaches. And what I really like is you could tell that they have a good coach in that system for Seattle because he wants to see his players excel. And he's so happy to deliver that news, like goosebumps.
That was such a good clip. If you have the time, go seek it out. There's it's a full 3-minute thing. The team's hyping them up. It's a good moment. It's a good moment for sure.
All right, E, bring us home.
Okay. So I wanted to go last because it's a little more somber of a subject that I want to touch on today. A couple weeks ago, on May 31st, John Brenkus, who most people probably know as the host of Sports Science, lost his battle with depression. He committed suicide and left behind a lot of mourning fans and family, loved ones, obviously. He was really open about his battle with mental health, including a previous suicide attempt. But I wanted to focus not on him himself, as sad as that is. And I hope his family can get some peace, but more so on people going through that now. It's a subject that we don't touch on a lot, but it covers all aspects of life, not just sports, obviously. But a lot of people suffer from depression, and a lot of people have thoughts of suicide. I want to say to those that deal with that there is help out there, and it's probably a lot closer than you imagine. You're likely in a dark place and you think that there's nobody that you can turn to. But I would challenge you in those times to have a bigger conversation or just open a conversation with somebody, whether that's a friend or a parent or other loved one. There are people in your life that you can depend on. And then on the flip side of that, I challenge the other way. I think it's so important that people know that you are there for them. And I'll say it live to everybody watching and everybody listening after. Reach out to me. I don't care if I don't know you. I'm always willing to talk to you and to be that person for you, because everybody needs that. And, check in on your people. If Noah is off and down, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call him and I'm going to ask him what's up, and I'm going to be there in a way, and he knows that he can open up to me. But just be that person for your people, because it's so important. And, it puts it in perspective of what's, I don't know. I just feel so much for his family and anybody going through that. But there's no coming back from that. There's no next step. There's no nothing. And now he went through a lot, obviously, and he lost that battle. But now his family has to try to live with the consequences of that. So there is help out there. I wish I had it prepared. I think there's a national hotline you can call as well. But just reach out if you need to and be there for your people.
That's incredibly well said, Erik. I couldn't agree more. It is a bit of a somber note, but it's an important note. We've all shared stories off air. Family and friends who struggle with depression and suicide. Mental health is not taken nearly seriously enough in this country. So follow Erik's advice, listen to him. We had a saying, I told you guys recently that I, pledged alpha, and one of our guys told us, when one of your brothers, you ask them how they're doing and they say they're doing well, be sure to challenge that. Don't take their word for it. Dig a little bit. So maybe that's something else you could do too. Hey, how's it going? All right, how about you? Good. And you go off and get your coffee and donut and start your day or whatever you're going to do in the morning. But yeah, when people say they're doing okay, but something seems off, don't believe them. Ask the question, let them know you're there for them. I love that one, man. Well done.
And especially, I don't want to say especially men, but there's those stats that go around that men are like twice as likely to commit suicide. And the only,
best take
not too often. Men are like twice as likely to commit suicide. The majority of men, like 90+% of men, get flowers for the first time at their funeral, things like that. So check in on your homies too.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have put it any better myself as well.
There's no good transition for that. There doesn't need to be. Great words. Thank you for the thoughts, E. And thank you guys for a great show. And thank you to our listeners for joining at the office. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the download button if you're listening to the audio only. Check us out on all the socials at the office CLE. And thank you to Fans First Sports Network and D&D Meadery for making this possible and for the sponsorship. Have a great night or day wherever you're listening or watching. And until next time, don't forget to check it on your buddies and take care. Peace.